Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday's lockdown lesson. Today we're going to finish up the week. Well, firstly, let me apologize again for being late this week. I don't know what's going on with my timing, my personal timing, but 11:30 seems to be more appropriate than 11 at the moment. So I apologize if that's annoying for you guys. I'm not sure what I want to do for next week. I'm wondering if I should take a week off just to kind of like let myself have time to plan some of these lessons. Sometimes it feels a little like I'm churning out a bit too much. And in some way, I don't know, like maybe it's nice to kind of give each week a bit of breathing space. That would allow me to do some additional kind of like promotion about the previous week, or it would basically let me be a bit more smarter with social media, because at the moment I'm just kind of like putting the lessons out and hoping that they're useful for people, but I'm not doing any additional, like I'm not posting them anywhere, or I'm not helping myself grow. So that's my thought process this morning. I am glad to see people tuning in. If you want to drop your name and where you're watching from in the comments, it would be great. We've got a few people watching from YouTube normally, which is quite cool. I am on YouTube. I've got 95 subscribers now. When I hit 100, I can have a custom YouTube URL, which would be YouTube/Thoughtful Movements. So if anyone wants to head over to YouTube and just hit subscribe, I would be massively grateful. Okay, so that's all the nonsense out of the way. Today's lesson is going to kind of obviously follow on from the theme that we've been looking at this week, which is working on the non-dominant side. Now, would any of you be aware if you've got a non-dominant foot? Generally, we would say sort of, or we would distinguish between our standing leg and our non-standing leg. However, generally, the standing leg is not the one that we use for action. So for example, if we were a footballer, the standing leg would be the one we plant off, and the other one would be the one we strike the ball with. So if you imagine yourself kicking a ball, for example, which foot you would do that with, then that would generally be your dominant foot, because it has more skill, more precision than the other. Today's lesson is going to be looking at the non-dominant foot. So in some way we're putting our worst foot forward, but we're hoping that in doing the lesson, we can improve that foot and it can become our best foot. When you're ready, hopefully you guys don't have your shoes on. If you do have your shoes on, I would recommend taking them off. Even I would go so far as to recommend taking your socks off, so that you could actually see your toes. It may be helpful for this lesson. If that's inconvenient for you in this moment, then don't worry. We can do the lesson in shoes or in socks. But it is kind of a little helpful to have that. Okay. And when you're all ready, just take a moment, as we usually do, take a moment to close your eyes, bring your attention back into yourself, and just kind of check in with yourself. What's going on with you this morning? I think that that's a really, it's a nice practice to get in the habit of, like, just to kind of check in with myself, as you would if you were like calling a friend, like, how are you? It's kind of a similar concept. It's open, it's warm, it's compassionate, self-compassionate. Great. And then just notice your breathing a little. Yesterday, did we do a breathing lesson yesterday? I think we did. Yeah. So just feel your breathing and feel the kind of quality of your breath. Feel how smooth it is today. What the pace or the speed of your breathing is. How do your nostrils feel after yesterday's lesson? Can you feel a difference between your left nostril and your right nostril? Okay. Now what I'd like you to do is have both feet on the floor. Have both feet on the floor. And with your left foot, I'd like you to imagine that you're bringing your toes in as if you were kind of making a fist with the foot. And I said imagine, and I actually mean do. I'd like you to use your toes and bring your toes together, kind of curl your foot as if you were kind of bringing your foot into making a fist. And just do that a few times. So my hand in this example is my foot. This is a foot analogy. And I'm closing my foot and I'm opening my foot. So just do that a few times. Feel as you open your foot that obviously you keep some weight in your heel. It's kind of like doing the bell hand movement, but with the foot on the floor. So it's like you're drawing your toes back towards you, okay? Kind of pulling them in, and then letting them out. And just kind of feel the coordination of the toes, all the 5 toes. How uniform is the movement? Does the big toe side curl better than the little toe side? Is that an easy movement for you, or do you feel that your foot doesn't respond so well in that way? Good. Okay, and then bring your left foot back down to the ground. Take a little mini rest. And now imagine that you've got a pen. You've got a pen, and it's just in the space between the big toe and the second toe, okay? So you've got a pen, it's in the space between the big toe and the second toe. And what I want you to do is draw the pen inwards. So you're just using that big toe side, drawing the pen inwards, as if you're kind of creating the arch on the foot, but just on the inside. If that isn't clear, please put it down in the comments. Hopefully it is. So what we were doing before was the whole foot drawing back together. Now you imagine that you've got a pen, and that pen is placed on the ground, and you're drawing back the kind of instep, the big toe side of the foot, drawing it back and then bringing it out. So now you're doing the same movement that we were doing before, but just focusing on the big toe side. And imagine that you're drawing a line. Imagine that you're drawing a line slightly backwards towards the heel and slightly forwards towards the toes. And think that you could be accurate in your drawing so that it would be a straight line or a smooth line rather than kind of going all over the place. And of course, as you're doing that movement, check in with your breathing. Feel as you move your toes in this way, does it kind of make you hold your breath? Does this feel challenging to you? Good. And then imagine moving the pen into the next toe. So before it was between the big toe and the second toe, and now it's between the second toe and the third toe. So you've got a pen there, and imagine drawing a line back. Drawing a line back towards the heel, along the floor, and forwards. Drawing a line back and forwards. So you're using your imagination to kind of isolate one specific part of the foot, imagining that you've got a pen within between the space between the second toe and third toe, and then you're using your foot to make the movement, imagining that you're drawing a line back towards the heel along the floor and then forwards towards the toe. And maybe it isn't a directly straight line, that's okay. Just feel that you kind of make the line quite smooth, quite continuous. If it helps, if you do have your socks off and you've got your toes, you could even put the pen there, if you've got a pen or something handy. Good. Take a little rest. And then move on to we're going to swap now. So we've done the 2 spaces between the big toe and the second toe and the second toe and the third toe. Now we're going to go over and do the little toe and the fourth toe. So imagine that you've got a pen in between your little toe, which is my little finger is signifying the little toe, and the fourth toe, my ring finger, and the fourth toe. Okay, imagine you've got a pen in that side of the foot, and imagine drawing a line back. And this one's a little harder. It's a little harder because you're using the other side of the foot, and it doesn't necessarily always do this movement. This isn't necessarily a familiar movement to that side of the foot. In some way, it involves lifting the outside edge of the foot. So as you draw a line back with the little toe, the pen in between the little toe and the fourth toe, the outside edge of the left foot can lift slightly away from the ground. And do that one a few times, kind of see if you can become more familiar. When it's more challenging, the movement's more challenging, we need to give ourselves a little more time to kind of become familiar with it. Great. Did your breathing change? Did you tighten your hands in order to help? Did you notice kind of anything else in the rest of the body enacted to help you move your little toe? Good. And then swap the pen over and imagine that the pen now is between the third toe and the fourth toe. So in my hand, that's the ring finger and the middle finger. And imagine that you're drawing back a line from that place in the foot. And just do it slowly, gently. See if you can make the drawing continuous. Drawing a line forwards, drawing a line backwards. You're combining imagination and action. And you're feeling if your intention, your imagined intention, corresponds with your physical performance of the act, or are they wildly separate? It's like we have an intention, but our foot's doing something completely different, or we have an intention and our foot is doing exactly what we wanted it to do. Great. Okay. And rest. Let your foot come back to the ground and just feel the contact of the left foot on the ground. How does the left foot rest now? If you flick your attention over to your right foot and feel the contact of the right foot on the ground, do they feel different? Can you feel a difference between the way that the left foot is resting on the floor and the way that the right foot is resting on the floor? Hopefully the left foot actually feels a little more alert in some way, or kind of active. Good. And then just go back to making the first movement that we did. So curling all of the toes together and then straightening them. If you want, you could imagine that you've got 5 pens. You've got 5 pens and you're making some interesting pattern on the floor. Generally, I would say it's cheating to look at your toes. Generally, I'd say it's cheating. So try not to look at them. Try and see if you can feel if your foot is behaving in accordance with your intention. Great. Okay, and rest. Now place the pen back in the gap between the imaginary pen, back in the gap between the big toe and the second toe. And imagine that particular spot is fixed in place. Okay, so you could imagine that pen has changed into a peg of some sort, and it's pressed down into the ground so it can't move. What I want you to do, so this is my foot again, the peg is between my big toe and my second toe, and I'm now going to begin to move my foot around the peg, leaving leaving the pen in place, leaving the peg in place, moving my foot very gently around the peg. Okay. So it's like you're pivoting around that spot. You're pivoting around the spot where the pen is placed between the big toe and the second toe, and your heel is moving a little to the left and a little to the right. Your toes can slide on the floor, but keep that idea that that point between the big toe and the second toe is kind of fixed. It's not moving around. You're rolling your foot, or you're rotating your foot around the pen. Good. Now rest your foot, bring your foot back down. Imagine swapping the pen over to the gap between the second toe and the third toe. Put that down into the ground so it's in place, so it's immobile, and begin rotating the foot around that peg now, or that pen. So now that pen is between the second toe and third toe. You're just moving your foot a little around it, noticing how your heel moves a little left and a little right. Does your heel come off the floor? Does that make it easier? Try and do it both ways. Try and do it with your heel on the floor and with your heel off the floor. Good, and then bring your foot to rest. Rest your left foot. Imagine swapping the pen over, so now it's between the gap of the third toe and the fourth toe. Press it into the ground. Imagine pressing it into the ground so it's fixed in place, and then begin to rotate your foot around that new point. So you're rotating your foot around a fixed point, and that fixed point is between the third and the fourth toe. And just feel, as you do that movement, can you feel what's happening inside your foot? All the various changes in shape and kind of organization of the foot in order to facilitate that rotation. Again, see if you can do it with the heel off the floor a few times and on the floor a few times. You should feel that you're kind of becoming more familiar with your left foot. It's like the relationship is developing, becoming clearer. Maybe even the difference, or the difference, the kind of the gap between what you intend to do and what you're actually doing is becoming smaller. Good. Okay, rest your left foot. Imagine placing a peg down between the little toe and the fourth toe, so on the outside, or the last gap, and then leave that point fixed and rotate your foot around that little the pen between the little toe and the fourth toe. Each time we change the pen, we change the attention slightly, keep the point fixed, it does a different thing inside the foot, or within the foot. So all the various bones of the foot are being asked to move in a slightly different way each time we change that kind of axis or point of rotation. Good. Just do it a couple more times, making sure you've tried it a couple of times with the heel off the floor. Feel your heel go left and right, and your heel on the floor. Again, you can feel your heel sliding along the floor. It's just that it changes the kind of the movement within the foot if the heel is elevated or down. Good. Rest your left foot. Rest your left foot. Leave all of your toes. Leave all of your toes in place now. Imagine that you've got a peg between each single toe. Okay, there's a peg that's keeping the space between the big toe and the second toe, second and third and fourth and fifth. Okay, you've got a pen in each of them. So the whole of the front of the foot is now in place and it's not moving. Imagine that you slide your heel a little to the left and the right. Slide your heel a little to the left and the right, but the toes don't move because they're fixed in place. So now the heel is like the tail of a dog wagging. So the head is still, but the tail is wagging. See if you can slide your heel along the floor a little to the left and a little to the right. Little left, little right. Good. And then lift your heel up. Lift your heel up. The toes are still in place. They've still got the pegs in between each single toe. And then again, move your heel a little left and right. So like you're wagging your tail in the air now. Before you were wagging it on the floor, like a broom being swept on the floor. And now it's in the air. Good. Feel kind of how precise can you be with the heel movement? Can your heel move a little left and right while your toes are staying in place? Good. All right, and rest your foot. And then a few times, just come back to that initial movement that we were doing, drawing the toes back together, drawing them back together, and then opening them. And just feel how that feels for you now. Is there a different sense of coordination or skill in the left foot? If you imagine a pen in each of the gaps again and see if you can kind of draw all 5 lines back towards the kind of the root of the foot, kind of inwards to the middle of the foot and then outwards away towards the direction of the toes. Good. Okay, and then rest your left foot. Let it completely rest. Let go of any effort. Let go of any intention. And feel how your left foot is resting on the floor. What's your sense of contact? If you've got your shoes off, then just feel. Can you feel like the kind of clarity of information that you're receiving about the floor from your foot? Can you feel any nuance? So, for example, if you've got a wooden floor or you've got carpet, can you feel the kind of texture underneath your foot without thinking about it, without looking there? So if I'm paying attention to what's under my foot right now, I can feel the gap between the 2 floorboards. Great. And then just flick your attention over again and notice if there's any difference between your right foot and your left foot. Is the left foot resting on the floor in a way that's different to the way that the right foot is resting on the floor? Could you conceivably say that you have now changed your best foot to your left foot? And maybe that takes a bit longer because we're so used to using one side of us more than the other. But maybe you feel that it's in some way it's kind of woken up the left foot in a way that the right is currently not feeling awake. Okay. If you want, you can just try again. Just try drawing with the big toe side a couple of times, the line inwards, and then the little toe side. That's a complicated movement to swap between the little side and the big toe side. So just see if you can kind of have fun with it. Maybe that's something you can do for the rest of the day. Even put a pen in between your big toe and draw a line backwards towards the root of your foot, and then put a pen in between the little toe and the 4th toe, and see if you can lift the outside edge and bring the pen inwards towards the root of the foot that way. That's more of an unfamiliar movement, but it's a very useful movement. Great. So that's this week's lessons on the non-dominant side of the body. I hope that they have been interesting for you. I think for myself that it's really worthwhile to spend a bit of time on the side of the body that we pay less attention to. And I think that being to be symmetrical, it's really nice for it's nice to have a kind of a global skill level. You know, it's nice to feel like one side of the body is as skillful as the other, even if they're skillful in different ways. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any comments about your relationship with you know, one side of you, the other side of you, dominance in terms of right hand dominance, right eye dominance, right foot dominance, or left side dominance, if you want to put them in the comment or in the Facebook community group, I'm sure other people would be interested to hear about that as well. So thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this week. Again, I'm not sure what I want to do for next week, so I will think about it over the weekend and I will come back. Either hi Simone, great, enjoy. So yeah, I'm not sure whether I want to teach again. So basically, out of the 50 lessons of this series I want to teach, I've taught 40 of those now, and there's 10 left to teach. But I'm wondering if for myself it's more sensible to have a week between each week that I teach, and that would spread out the lessons a bit more, give more people a chance to watch, and also give me an opportunity to publicize them, to show them off in a different way. So that's my thought process. I'm not sure whether that will actualize in terms of next week or not yet. All right. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a lovely weekend. And if I don't see you back on Monday, then it will be the week after, the following week. So I'm not sure yet, but I will message in the Facebook community group. Okay. Take care. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.